Everyone. Welcome to The Winning Edge, a conversation with Kendra. And today, I am so excited to have someone not only I see as a mentor, but have touched so many lives around the world. And as I begin to do my small introduction, and then he's going to come and share a little bit more about him. So, on today's first podcast for the World Conference of Mayors, we have the founder, Johnny Ford, Mayor Johnny Ford, and a little bit that I've learned being a part of the conference back in January. Not only that you are a leader, you're a visionary, your heart and compassion for the world to make this place a better place for our people to live and to have all the advantages that everyone else have. And Mayor, I know that you've been a mayor. I know that you've been in the public, serving the public in the political arena for quite some time. And now you've dedicated your life to the World Conference of Mayors. And we'll talk about the historical Black towns and settlements in a moment. But I will pause and ask for you, could you please share a little bit more about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share information on the World Conference of Mayors work. I am a born and bred in the great state of Alabama, in beautiful county, Alabama, at the age of 4, adopted by my uncle and brought to Tuskegee, Alabama. Grew up in Tuskegee, entered elementary school at years old at the Washington Public School in honor of Dr. Booker T. Attended Tuskegee Institute High School, which was also founded by Dr. Booker T. Washington, and then on to Knoxville College for scholarships for football and academics, 4 years in college, and on from there to New York, where I landed a position as Scout Executive with the Great New York Council, Boy Scouts of America, working to raise funds for corporation foundation for the support of Scouting in New York City. Then in 19, a call from Earl Graves, who said, "Let's elect Kennedy president of the United States." I had gone to New York to be an actor while waiting to go into the Air Force as a second lieutenant pilot, having grown up under the sounds of the fighting Tuskegee Airmen. I always wanted to be an airman. So while waiting to the Air Force, I was studying to become an actor. But of course, due to I was not able to take advantage of my second status in the Air Force. I understand the Tuskegee Airmen group because many of them, because of racism, were denied to fly and fight for their country. But at any rate, in New York City, now an opportunity for first taste of politics with the Kennedy campaign. Call from Earl Graves the next day on a plane to Nebraska for the Nebraska campaign. And of course, the rest of history ended up in California after the senator had won that campaign there. And, of course, us, we were all there when, fortunately, in the kitchen at the at the Ambassador Hotel in the kitchen. Uh, that changed my life from the standpoint of, well, I guess I rededicated myself and became even more committed because just 3 months earlier, Dr. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Now Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. For if he had lived, we would have gone to Washington with him. But now I realize that if I really want to do what I said I was going to do at the age of 13, I said to my colleagues one day, after seeing the sign up on the segregated park in downtown Tuskegee, Alabama, I said to Lonnie and Carver and some of my colleagues, and they still remind me that I said that. Uh, I said, you know, the mayor of this town must be a powerful dude. That's what I called him, a powerful dude, if he can keep us out of this park. One day I want to be mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama. Open up this park so that all of the children, black and white, can swim in the public swimming pool, can play in the parks, play baseball and football. And he said, man, you crazy. I won't tell you what they really said. You crazy, Ian. But at any rate, that was something that I just felt at the age of 13. The age of 13, the same year that Emmett Till was killed brutally. But at that early age, I wanted to get involved, and I just never lost sight of that. And on that flight back across America on the Kennedy plane, I began to ask myself, just where was America headed for? Kennedy was gone, King was gone. If I wanted to see change, then I really need to not stay in New York, but instead leave New York, go back to the South, and in the words of Booker T. Washington, cast down my bucket in Tuskegee, Alabama. And I did. Came back in 1972, ran for mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, like so many others who did, who were inspired by the Black political convention held in Gary, Indiana in 1972, convened by Dick Hatcher and Baraka and so many others who came to that convention and were inspired and went back across America. Of course, I was already inspired to run. But in 1972, that was a critical year. It was in 1972 that the infamous Tuskegee syphilis study broke. The news broke. And even though I had grown up in Tuskegee as a boy, I had not really heard anything about or paid attention about the infamous Tuskegee syphilis study. But here it was, uh, international news now. And I made a commitment using that mean study, vicious study, as a foundation for my campaign. And I said that if I'm elected mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, never again will we allow the federal government, or state government, or any other governmental body to come into our community and take advantage of our people. Because that study, not conducted by Tuskegee University, but they just called it the Tuskegee study, but it was conducted by the United States federal government in the state of Alabama, used black men as guinea pigs when when penicillin was discovered as a cure. They were denied treatment just to let them die so that they could determine the effects of syphilis on the human body. And so it was that kind of foundation that I ran upon, that never again. And I pledged myself that we would commit Tuskegee now for positive things. And so, being elected in 1972, right away I began to work for the city of Tuskegee to develop my town. I also got involved in bringing together, because I was an organizer for the United States Department of Justice, called together the 8 black mayors from across Alabama and said, hey, how would you guys like to be on the NBC Today show? My good friend Paul Cunningham called me and said, hey, Ford, can you get those black mayors in Alabama together? We want to put you all on the NBC Today show. I said, no problem. I called them up. They said, when, where? Let's do it, man. And sure enough, we all met in Montgomery, Alabama, at WSFA TV. And for the first time, America saw 8 black mayors speaking as one united body. And I said to them, Now that we're together, why don't we stay together? Especially since I'm paying for your lunch. I got you here. Let's organize an Alabama Conference of Black Mayors. They said, let's do it. And that was when the idea was born. And out of that grew the Alabama Conference of Black Mayors in December of 1973, a year later. They said, let's organize after we had met with the mayors over in Mississippi. Let's organize. And sure enough, in December of 1973, I hosted them and paid for it too. We raised the money, $8,000 to pay for the organizational meeting of the Alabama Conference of Black Mayors. I hosted at the only Black-owned Holiday Inn in America, in Tuskegee, Alabama. Brought together not only those mayors, but by now it became a national event. We got John Lewis to become our keynote speaker. We invited Governor Wallace to be there to welcome him. And that's what really made history. The same event, John Lewis, who was a civil rights leader, who was beaten on the Edmonds Pettus Bridge, which we're getting ready to commemorate this weekend in Selma, Alabama. Once again, Selma, Lord, Selma. John Lewis was there. And what was ironic about it, that was the first time in history George Wallace, who by now had asked for forgiveness for his segregated positions in the past and was working hard to try to become the governor of all the people. So George Wallace, for the first time, came to Tuskegee, Alabama, and welcomed that same George Wallace who stood in the door and prevented and closed the integration of our public school in Tuskegee, Alabama. Now that I was the Black mayor and in charge of all of these mayors, came to Tuskegee to welcome the Black mayors to Alabama. I remember Mayor Charles Evers of Fayette, Mississippi. Mayor Evers said, hey, man, I ain't coming to no mayor. I ain't coming to no meeting with Wallace. I ain't coming to no meeting with Wallace. Man, when Governor Wallace rolled up there with all that international press, Mayor Evers was the first one in line to help greet the governor. But the point of it, we all changed, because I felt the same way that he did. And we were demonstrating that we could rise above our differences of the past and now try to come together and work together as Black and white in the South. And that was the philosophy of Booker T. Washington. I grew up in the shadows of Booker T. Washington. As I said, attended Tuskegee Institute High School, was planning to go to Tuskegee University, but wanted to slip away to go to Knoxville to play football, and because my dad said no football if you stay here, because I'd been injured in high school. But at any rate, that was the beginning of it. Beginning of the Alabama Conference of Black Mayors that grew into the Southern Conference of Black Mayors. I got the first $50,000 from Sonny Walker to help us hire Bernard Porsche away from the Environmental Protection Agency in Atlanta, Georgia. $25,000 to pay him, and the other $25,000 to open an office on West Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, for the headquarters of the Southern Conference of Black Mayors. 1974. By that time, we got George Howard to incorporate, Attorney George Howard, my good fraternity brother, to incorporate the Southern Conference of Black Mayors into what later became in 1978, once Marion Barry was elected in Washington. And we had other mayors like Tom Bradley in Los Angeles. We had Coleman Young in Detroit. I could go on and on, mayors across the country who finally saw that these small town mayors in Alabama, that we were making so much noise and getting so much done by sticking together and speaking as one and getting all this federal money from the federal government, from Nixon, and first President Nixon and then President Gerald Ford, and all of these presidential candidates, and then President Carter later. They saw that it was working. The fact that we had organized into one united voice. And they said, hey, they petitioned us. Can we join this Southern Conference? Can you expand it? And so we agreed to expand what first started out as the Alabama Conference of Black Mayors into the Southern Conference of Black Mayors. Now we expanded into the National Conference of Black Mayors. Elected Dick Hatcher, who had been one of the conveners of the National Black Political Convention and the first Black mayor of Gary in 1967. Dick Hatcher, we elected him president because of his national status at that time. And we expanded into the National Conference of Black Mayors. And then finally in let's go back to 1977, I was invited to come to Banjul, the Gambia, a sister cities program between Tuskegee and Banjul, the Gambia. Alex Haley and I were on the same plane, and we had a chance to talk. And I said, Alex, we've been invited to come to Africa to engage in the Sister Cities program. And Alex Haley said to me, if you're going, then you should select Banjul, the Gambia, my ancestral home. All of us read about Roots and saw the movie Roots. And so Tuskegee, Alabama, in a ceremony in New York City, became the first African American, but majority African American city, historic Black town, to enter into a sister city relationship with a historic African town. And so that was the idea, the concept. They made me the honorary mayor of Banjul, the Gambia, the capital of the country of Banjul, and the mayor of that particular city, Mayor George Mundy. We passed a resolution and made him the honorary mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama. And so we built that bridge of communication between our two cities. But that was the beginning of a movement, because in 1982, when I was elected president of the National Conference of Black Mayors, I brought back that idea and that concept to the National Conference of Black Mayors. And Mayor George Mundy took that idea about our working together and organizing a world conference of mayors to the Union des Villes Africaines. That's the French-speaking mayors in Africa. And so I took the message back to the National Conference of Black Mayors in the U.S. He took it back to the National Conference of Mayors across Africa. And our two organizations decided that we would enter into a joint relationship and adopted joint resolutions to form what is now the World Conference of Mayors, Conférence Mondiale des Maires, the World Conference of Mayors. And sure enough, on April 28th, I guess, 1984 in St. Louis, Missouri, I convened the National Conference of Black Mayors, but I also a meeting of the World Conference of Mayors. I had asked the ambassadors throughout Africa to bring their mayors to this organizational meeting, and they did. And for the first time, Kendra, we had 19 African ambassadors. That was the largest gathering of African ambassadors outside of Washington to ever really take place in the U.S. First, we had many of them to come to Pritchard, Alabama, during Black History Month. This is Black History Month now that we're in. But about this time, in 1984, we met in Pritchard, Alabama, at Africa Town. Mayor John Smith hosted us. And then I invited all of them to bring the mayors, their mayors, to the meeting. I invited the ambassador to bring the mayor who was the mayor of the capital city of his country, his or her country, or the president of the association of mayors in that country, in that particular country. And they did it. And we involved the ambassadors and gave them the impression that they were really in charge of all of this out of protocol, because we did not want any resistance. We wanted to stay in our lane. We knew that ambassadors were appointed by their countries for the purpose of representing them in the United Nations. Okay. Uh, we wanted those ambassadors to understand that we were not organizing to compete or interfere with their diplomatic responsibilities. Instead, we wanted to become the organization that helped to implement the global policies in our cities, in our towns, at our harbors, on our streets, in our communities, at our airports, at our transportation terminals, in our crops, in growing our crops in our fields across our countries. In other words, it was going to be a cooperative relationship. The ambassadors represented the United Nations, and of course, we became the United Nations of cities to implement in the cities through the 7 T's of trust, trade, tourism, technology transfer, Twin Cities, treasury, and training. Those were our goals to carry out the wishes of the United Nations in our cities and towns. And so it was a good fit. And we had a good meeting and historic meeting in St. Louis. St. Louis entered into the sister city relationship with the city of Taipei, Taiwan. And today, to this day, Taipei, Taiwan is a good friend and active in the World Conference of Mayors. There were other countries, there were some 40 countries present in December of 1984 when I convened the first original convention of the World Conference of Mayors in Monrovia, Liberia. I was elected as the president. The mayor, William Snyder, the mayor of Monrovia, Liberia, was elected as my vice president. Uh, Mayor and other mayors from throughout the nation were elected from Trinidad, uh, from across Africa, from across Asia. And so, as I said, we had some 40 different countries represented. And so today, we are the United Nations of Cities. We are the World Conference of Mayors, Conférence Mondiale des Mayors. So I know you didn't ask for all of that, but what I thought
No, I think you did an amazing job, sir, because we in order for us to know where we're going, we need to know where you came from
yes,
and to understand your vision. So no, we needed that foundation. So for anyone that's looking for the history on how the World Conference of Mayors got started, we took the time, and I'm so gracious that you did. And so now I just have a few questions
sure.
that I would like to begin to ask you. And one of the questions is, let's start here. For any mayor that's watching or anyone in leadership, wherever they may be, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, I started a long time ago. Um, I decided what I wanted to do instead of becoming a lawyer. When I went to college, I was um, planning to become a corporate lawyer or social worker. Um, but then I decided that public service and being involved in the this week I'm going to Knoxville College to memorialize my good friend and hero, Dr. Robert Booker, who was president of our student body association at Knoxville College. And we were involved in the civil rights movement in SNCC. myself, Jesse Jackson, and John Lewis, all of us, and Robert Booker. When we went to Knoxville, it was totally segregated. When we left, it was totally integrated. We went to jail, we protested, you know the story. But the point is, I decided that that's what I wanted to be a part of. You know, I talked a long time ago at the age of 13 about what I wanted to do. So the best advice I would give to anyone is make up your mind what it is you want to do. And I decided that being a mayor is a profession rather than become a lawyer or a doctor or engineer or architect. I decided to become a mayor. And I decided also that I would make being a mayor a profession. It's a science. It takes skill to, just like it takes skill to be a surgeon or an architect. It, it, our skill is dealing with human beings, with people, finding out what is needed and having the skill and the talents to get something done to solve the problem. That's what it's all about. It's a science. Being a mayor is a profession. And so I decided a long time ago that I wanted to develop this profession, this profession, and develop among mayors professionalism, this scientific work of being mayors of cities, being able to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk and actually get something done, to actually make life better in the cities of the world. The cities of the world, they are our laboratories. The cities of the world, they are, that's our work.
Right.
That's what. So my best advice is decide what it is you want it, what you want to do in life and go for it. And we can do anything but fail. You've got to put your life to it. You've got to dedicate yourself. I almost died as a kid. Uh, 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 because of a football injury in high school. Received a low blow in the back. Injury. My kidney had internal bleeding, and because of the sickle cell trait, I don't have the sickle cell disease. It runs in my family, but I just had the trait, which you can not, you have a normal life. I was just reading the other day that they finally are finding a cure for sickle cell anemia.
Right.
In my case, just the trait was bad enough because of the injury I had was so severe and caused the internal bleeding. They couldn't stop it. But at any rate, I almost died. And on my hospital bed, I made a commitment. I said, Lord, if you help me get through this, I'm gonna get up from this bed and I'm gonna go on and see what the end is gonna look like. I'm gonna commit myself to public service. And I made that decision. As I told you, 13, I knew pretty much what it is I wanted to do, and I never lost sight of that goal.
Yes.
So that's what I would say to anyone who wants to become a mayor or wants to become a leader. It just go for it. If Barack Obama could become president, so can any of these young black boys and girls who are coming up in today's society. And that's what I try to do, is set an example for them, lay the foundation for them. I've got sons who are who are going to carry on the tradition, and we're developing younger mayors and other elected and appointed officials in the World Conference of Mayors to carry on this institution, the United Nations of Cities. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Definitely, you put your mind to it, you make a decision, and just follow the path. And so, my next question that I have, mentors are so important. Who was your most influential mentor in your
Well,
life?
well, as I said, I grew up in Tuskegee in the shadows of Booker T. Washington's, his work, his legacy. So we believe very much in the philosophy and the approach of Booker T. Washington. A lot of times they call me and Uncle Tom or whatever, but that didn't matter, because what I believed in doing was you change the system from within and from without. So as I said, I have been without the system by protesting and marching and demonstrating and going to jail. Matter of fact, I went to jail recently. Like John Lewis, I'm still getting into good trouble. I went to jail not too long ago fighting for the expansion of Medicaid in the state of Alabama because health care is our new civil rights struggle. Until we have affordable and equal health care, all Americans, we still have a struggle ahead of us. And we were protesting in front of the state capitol of Alabama, and we wrote Black Lives Matter. We also wrote Expand Medicaid Now. But at any rate, uh, we went to jail. But that's okay. In this day and time, we're still fighting for equality.
I think we.
Okay. So, in terms of who was obviously my uncle, my dad, who adopted me, the Reverend Charlie Benjamin Ford, was a great inspiration to me, and my mother, stepmother, who was my aunt, Tennessee Ford. They really had an impact. The fact that they took me as a young boy of 4 years old under their wings and made sure that I got my lessons at night, to make sure that I shined my shoes and ironed my clothes and went to school on time. And they just they had my immediate family was a great inspiration to me, and of course others in Tuskegee. I had many. I grew up around many heroes and sheroes. Tuskegee is the birthplace of Mrs. Rosa Parks. Tuskegee is the home of Dr. George Washington Carver and his work. Tuskegee is the home of the flying, fighting Tuskegee Airmen. So I could go on and on. I have many heroes and sheroes that I looked to during and growing up in Tuskegee, Alabama. My scoutmaster, Mr. Leonard Scott, my pastor of the church, Reverend S.T. Martin. I could go on and on and on. Okay.
So knowing
And
that,
I was inspired, obviously, by President John Kennedy, and of course, Dr. Martin Luther King, uh, who was in we went to Tuskegee. Dr. King was in Montgomery, but he also came to Tuskegee, and we also we were influenced by his leadership. Okay.
okay, okay. So let me ask you this quick question: what was your
Are you still
funnest?
there?
Yes, I'm here.
Or did it freeze?
I'm still here,
I'm
sir.
here. Let's see what happened to her.
Yes, we're still here. You're still going. Can you hear me?
Well, let's see what the technology does.
So, so what we will do, sir, hold on, because of technology. Um, Hold on, we can still grab him, and I don't want to let this interview go. Hold on, I'm going to call him, guys, because yeah, yes, sir. Yes, you have to love technology. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, guys, he's going to come back, and I would say just by listening to his history and and being a disruptor, we have him back. So, guys, definitely thank you for your patience.
Go live on your channel. Go live.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, and so we did miss a beat. And if you saw me being frozen, the recording was still happening, sir. And so your last question on your mentors, we were able to get that as well. So that came across very well. Rosa Parks and all of the others, Martin Luther King, Booker T. Washington. So let me ask you this particular question.
Okay.
Tell us tell us what are your 3 favorite books that you would recommend for someone to pick up to use?
Well, Dr. King, where do we go from now? Stride toward freedom. And I profiles and courage, President Kennedy. And what else do we have? Famous books. Uh, I like your 2 books. That's great.
Thank you.
Oh, but there's so many books out there now, and what's good about it is everything's on the internet, and you can just get it instantaneously. It's 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 out there. But profiles and courage. Where do we go from here, Dr. King? It's just there's so many outstanding reads out there today. Those are two of my
Your
two of my
favorite. So let's shift towards the World Conference of Mayors.
yes.
Let's shift towards what's I would say one of the most influential bodies that I've been a part in order to affect change on a local level. So I had the experience to go to your conference, and it was my first conference, and to see the people that are in the room that are affecting change right in their own community on a local and an international level. So anyone that's watching this particular interview or listening to this podcast, could you share with us your goals for 2024? Could you share with us how people can actually get involved? And also, how can people donate? So I did ask a loaded questions, but I'll let you break that down however you may. But this is so important that people understand the importance and significance of the World Conference of Mayors, the work that it's doing, and how to support it.
Well, we are the World Conference of Mayors, Conference Mondiale des Mayors. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our conference, we amended our bylaws a few years ago to expand them, wherein you can be a member as an active mayor. If you are presently a mayor elected, we expanded our bylaws so that any elected or appointed official at the local, national, or international level can be a member of the World Conference of Mayors, because the work of a mayor has many titles in many countries around the world. So we don't get hung up on the title, because in some countries, the title is mayor. But in Liberia, in Nigeria, is local chairman. Or in Liberia, it may be a mayor, and also you have commissioners. You may have a governor who
Guys, who will be back?
are we still recording?
Yes.
The minister of local government served as the president of the World Conference of Mayors, because he had the responsibility for local government in his country of working with the mayors. They were under his leadership. So any person any elected present official or former mayor or council members. Many organizations, once you are no longer a mayor or no longer a legislator or whatever, you can't continue to be active in the organization. Well, we don't believe in that. If a person, once a mayor, always a mayor, just like once a president, always a president, we don't discard those people. If they want to still work with us and be a part of us, they have a lot of experience that we can benefit from. They may not have the present title, but they still have that experience. So we have present mayors, former mayors, we also have, I'm a former legislator. We have ambassadors who are involved. Anyone who wishes to work and carry out the furtherance of the work of the World Conference of Mayors through our 7 goals of trust, trade, tourism, technology transfer, Twin Cities, treasury, and training. One of the things we are about is training. Our organization is a training conference for mayors and other elected and appointed officials, for leaders, people who want to learn about how to be leaders, how to be mayors, how to be governors, how to be presidents, how to be ambassadors, how to be commissioners. The work of a mayor now is no longer just cutting ribbons and kissing babies at the local communities and dedicating streets. The work now of a mayor is very scientific, is very calculated, is very sophisticated, is very humbling in some sense, because you have to go from being sophisticated to being humble and being able to deal with all of the people in your community. That takes patience, that takes skill, that takes time, that takes concern, that takes passion. It takes all of these things to be a mayor. So the work of the World Conference of Mayors is to strengthen the capacity of mayors and other elected and appointed officials to more effectively serve their citizens and more effectively deliver goods and services to their citizens, and to more effectively effectuate change in the cities of the world. We're not just talking about change and setting goals, but accomplishing goals. We're talking about getting money and resources. We're talking about getting health facilities that save lives. We're talking about getting money that improves the infrastructure. We're talking about developing our airports, our highways, our bridges. We're talking about building hospitals and health facilities. We're talking about supporting our schools in our communities. In other words, our work, the work of the mayor, is to develop the community, to lead the community, yes, but to also develop it and improve the quality of life. And as we move into this year, we've had our annual conference in Orlando. We've elected our officers for the coming year. Our president, I will continue to serve as founder for life. The board decided several years ago that I should continue to serve for life as founder, because my role as founder is to help recruit, fundraise, and to support our existing leaders, to use my experience and wisdom to be in a supportive role. Our president is the mayor of Pritchard, Alabama. Tuskegee and Pritchard have been the 2 cities that have been in a leadership role. Myself as president, and Mayor John Smith, who was my first Secretary General of the World Conference of Mayors. We took this movement around the world. Yours truly is Mayor of Tuskegee, and John Smith is Mayor of Pritchard as my Secretary General. We took the movement to China. We took the movement to Japan. We took the movement across Africa. And so the president, Jimmy Gardner of Pritchard, is our president of the World Conference. And the Honorable Alberta McCory is the president of our other organization, our sister organization. I have the honor of also organizing that organization. When Mayor Alberta McCory called to my attention that she and Mayor Mount, they were thinking about establishing a twin city relationship between Hobson City, Alabama, the first all-black town, historic town in Alabama, and Eatonville, the first all-black town established in Florida. The two mayors were talking about the idea. So they got on the phone and they called me and said, "Hey, Mayor Ford, this is what we're thinking about. Can you help us put this together?" I said, "No problem." So I invited the five mayors. There were five of us, invited them to Tuskegee, and here again, we hosted them, paid for everything for them to come to my city. Uh, they stayed at the historic Kellogg Center on the campus of historic Tuskegee University. And there in my office, we organized in 20, I guess 13, we organized the historic Black Towns and Settlements Alliance. And the original five cities were, of course, Grambling University. Grambling, the town of Grambling, the home of Grambling University, started by Charles Adams in 1901 when Booker T. Washington dispatched him. Of course, Tuskegee Institute, Alabama, founded by Booker T. Washington as the first Greenwood community, even before Tulsa. Booker T. Washington was talking about Greenwood and Black Wall Street. And then the historic Mound Bayou, Mississippi, the Delta, the gem of the Delta. Mayor Darrell Johnson came from Mound Bayou, Mississippi. We all know the history of that great historic Black town. And then, of course, we had all five of these towns come together in one, and we organized the Historic Black Towns and Settlements Alliance. Hobson City, Tuskegee, Grambling, Mound Bayou, Tuskegee, Alabama. Those were the original five cities. Now we represent more than 1,000 historic towns and settlements. Settlements that were settled by Blacks and African Americans and Native Americans. And we have the Honorable John Moss representing the indigenous community as a part of our organization as well. So anyone who wants to join, go online to the World Conference of Mayors .org. The World Conference of Mayors.org is our webpage, and you can sign up. Kendra, and we have, of course, 4 membership categories: active for active mayors and other elected positions. And as I indicated earlier, we have in the World Conference of Mayors not only mayors and other elected and appointed officials, we have citizens who are not elected appointed officials because they have an opportunity to sit on our board side by side, and we're able to share and interact with them. We gain from them knowledge and expertise, and they gain from us. And so that's what makes us different and unique from normal organizations. For example, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, you can only join that organization if you were a mayor. The National Association of County Officials, you can only join it if you're a county official. No, we've grown beyond that. You can either be an elected or appointed official or not. It doesn't make us any difference. As long as you are willing to volunteer, commit yourself to the 5 goals, to the 7 goals of the World Conference of Mayors, and the 3 goals of the Historic Black Towns and Settlements, which are to preserve, protect, and promote our African American history and heritage found in our historic Black towns and settlements. And so That's how you can join. That's how you can be a part of us.
Yep.
That's how you can also donate to us, and we welcome donations to support our work. There is no required membership fee that cities or mayors have to pay to be active. That's
Right.
one of the things that we established in the beginning, that we were not going to compete with the other uh, municipal or county organizations, because those are our membership organizations, and you have to pay to be members of those organizations. We don't want to compete with them. We are the World Conference of Mayors. That's what we do. We conference. We use the technique of conferencing to benefit our mayors, and there's no charge for that. We invite people to join us who want to volunteer to be a part of us, and we invite corporations, foundations, individuals to donate if they so desire, to help us carry out our work. But our work over this year will be building the trust, the trade, the tourism, the technology transfer, the twinning of our cities, the transferring of our technology, and training of our people in the 2024 and beyond. First meeting is this weekend when we celebrate Black History, but we will bring together mayors from across Alabama and virtually mayors from across the nation. And we will have experts there talking about resources and money that's available for healthcare, for water and sewer projects, et cetera, infrastructure. We'll be talking about tourism and how do you develop resources for all of these areas at our conference in Tuskegee, Alabama. And then our next big conference will take place in April, where we will join and be there for the meeting of the African American Mayors Association, which is now, which was formerly the National Conference of Black Mayors, that same organization that we organized back in 1970, 73, that grew into the National Conference in 1978. It is now the African American Mayors Association, primarily the mayors of the big cities. Mayor Stephen Reed of Montgomery, Alabama, is scheduled to become the new president. He's my neighbor in Montgomery, and we work close together, and we'll continue to work with him. They were represented at our recent meeting by their executive director. And then we will support the work that goes on to rebuild Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
And then we will go to Canada.
Yes.
As you know, many Blacks in slavery fled to Canada through the Underground Railroad. One of our outstanding leaders, the Honorable Alistair Coward, has invited us to Canada for the purpose of giving an opportunity for those of us in the U.S. To see what happened on the Underground Railroad. We knew that slaves fled the slavery in the South through the Underground Railroad, thanks to Harriet Tubman and others, led them through the Underground Railroad to freedom in Canada.
Yes.
But we never found out what happened to them once they got to Canada. Now, I've had a chance to go and see. Kendra, you've had a chance to go and see how they cast down their buckets in Canada and develop communities and professions, and how they not only survived, but they thrived in Canada. That's a great story. And we're going to not only go there to see, but we're going to encourage those who settle in Canada, because just as we yearn to know about our origin, about our heritage in Africa, where our ancestors came from, those in Canada yearn to know where their ancestors came from, Mount Bayou and from the South. And so we're going to, it will be a two-way thing. We're developing a tourism and travel and visitation and pilgrimage system where we uh, take the Underground Railroad in modern day to
Right.
Canada. And those from Canada will reverse and go back down the Underground Railroad to us in the South where their ancestors came from. So it's a new and marvelous story that is being developed by Alistair Cowan and Kendra, you and Mayor Johnson, all of you all who
Yes.
are involved in that effort. We are just delighted that the World Conference and the historic towns that we're all linking up together. We have the historic Black towns and settlements in the U.S., and we also have them in Canada as well,
Yes.
and in Nova Scotia and in other places across the country. So it's easy to join. We welcome anyone to join with us and become a part of us. Okay?
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share the
Thank you. You're
history.
frozen again.
Okay.
So I guess I should go out and come in again. Let's try this. Add. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay.
So guys, we're gonna wrap this up. And he did a phenomenal job on the recording. And as we bring things to a close, if you're looking for an organization to support, if you're wanting a place where you can learn more about trade, or learn more about how can you get involved in your local government, the World Conference of Mayors is a tremendous organization. If you're looking for a place where you just want to donate, you can't actively get involved, but you can actually donate. This is one of the most crucial organizations that you can truly give to. So Mayor Ford,
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for hopping on. I thank you for your time. I look forward to more podcasts. I look forward to more of the organization opening up and hopping on this particular podcast with me, The Leading Edge, a conversation with Kendra promoting the World Conference of Mayors. So thank you so much for this time today.
Thank you.
And again, let's say this again. Down below, you're going to see where you can go to the website to learn more about the organization. The World Conference of Mayors.org is at the bottom of the screen. You can see the website. You can go there. You can learn more. And the biggest thing that you can do is to leave with your wallet and give to let this particular organization continue to further the 7 T's that it was founded on. So, Mayor, thank you so much for this interview. It has been fantastic. Any closing words or any closing remarks?
I just want to thank you, and this is just the beginning. We've only just begun. Okay? Thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.